Giovannie Espiritu, and you are watching the Keith Andrew Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 546. I am your host, Keith Andrew, and you're watching the Keith Andrew Network. Like I said, this is 546. I'm here with the talented and beautiful Ms. Giovannie. I just want to say thank you for being a guest on my talk show.
Thank you so much for having me. I like to help out, and whatever you have to ask me, I'm game. So,
for people who want to know what my talk show is about, the whole point of my talk show is to show people that even with having a learning disability, I can still amount to something. At the same and at the same time, I'm able to turn myself into an example for people out there dealing with any types of learning disabilities and disabilities to never give up and prove people wrong. Prove to them that labels do not dictate who you are and who you're going to be, and just prove to them you can step out to something. So hashtag break the labels. That being said, half hour, 33 minutes of your time. Say anything you want to talk about, anything you like. Don't mind me, I haven't done my interviews as of late, so I'm really rusty. I just been preoccupied. But starting off, what can you tell us about yourself?
Let's see. What can I tell you about myself? I'm an actor. Big thing right now is that, the Emmys thing where they had the little quote where they're like, out of 15 years of ER, they've never had one Filipina nurse. So right now I'm like, wait a minute. I played med student Ludlow for 4 episodes and season 11, so I'm Filipina. I kind of count, in that. I don't know if I ever became a doctor because Ludlow always messed up the diagnoses on the show, so maybe she would have become a doctor. So that's kind of, trending on the social media right now. Other than that, I have a new movie coming up called Derailed, where I have scenes with Lance Henriksen from the Aliens franchise. He plays Bishop. And I have a series, an LGBTQ series on the Amazon Prime network called Dyke Central. So I am doing the acting thing, but also I'm a teacher. So I teach kids acting, and I teach teens acting and newer adult actors. My school is called HollywoodActorsWorkshop.com. I have 2 series regulars on the Universal Dreamworks Life Hacks for Kids show. Let's see. William Lipton just got onto General Hospital as a series, like a recurring role as Cameron. And I have a couple of students that are series regulars on the Pocket Watch Network, Amanda Curtis, and one of my other students, Sarah Field, just got 26 episodes of an animated series that I can't talk about right now. So, yeah, those are the things that I'm doing. And I'm also a mom, and I rock climb. So,
now, you mentioned 2 things. One, I want to talk about ER, and also about the great actor who does Bishop. I want to talk to you about him. And there's one of them, but I just don't want to toss about. I'm not even going to toss the LTTB, whatever you want to say, whatever it is. I'm not even going to go near it, toss it, because that's my 2 cents on it. So the first question I was going to ask you is, how long have you been on ER, and what were some of your favorite moments about being with the cast?
I was only on ER for 1 season. I had 4 episodes on there. It was a big show for me because that was the first time that that was my first real big job as an actor. That's the job that got me my SAG card. Actually, Sarah Isaacson, who was casting this show at the time, got me my SAG card because there's actually a process that you need to go through to get your SAG card. Like, they don't just give them out. And one of the reasons that they listed that got me my my union membership is that I speak Tagalog. I speak a different language as well. I speak the Filipino language. But I didn't speak the Filipino language on the show at any time at all. So, just the fact that was my first show, that was a big deal. And then when I went on set, the interesting thing is that they cast 2 med students on there. And I thought I was playing the other one. They cast me, all my paperwork was playing the other one. I don't remember what the name of the other med student was. But when we did the script read-through on set, the director, who was a woman director at the time, and I was very lucky to have a woman director for my first show, she was like, no, you know what, I cast you as the other role, so just go ahead and switch roles right then and there, right before we shot. So that was a big lesson to me, like, as an actor, you have to be prepared for anything. And it was just really fun being on set, like, just being with people that you've seen, you know, on TV for a very, very long time, and be like, oh my gosh, they're like right there in front of me. Mekhi Phifer, who played my supervisor kind of on the show, he scared me so much. I don't remember why, but I just remember being very intimidated by him, and I don't know if that was just because that was the vibes that he was giving my character, because my character, Ledlow, always messed up. I messed up the diagnoses all the time. So, but it was fun. That was a very, very fun experience for me.
No, absolutely. And, you know, it's pretty much once you get your foot through the door, anything's possible. And you're an inspiration for that.
Thank you. I didn't know anybody when I started in the industry. So, yeah, if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Now, the next question I was going to ask you about Bishop. You know, how do you know of him, and have you ever worked with him?
I just worked with him, and he's iconic. Lance Henderson is an icon, you know, and the way that he came on the show is they just offered the part of Manny to him, and so I was surprised that he was going to be my boss on this show, because that's huge. And, you know, I'm just very lucky as an actor to be able to work with him, and he is hilarious. He is so down to earth, and he just made everybody feel comfortable, even though he's like this iconic legend, like legend of legends of legends. He's super down to earth and so funny. And I have a video of us being delirious. So it was like night shoots, where night shoots are basically you work from like 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. And those are like really rough hours. So there are parts in the night where I get delirious, and in order to keep myself awake, I start dancing, you know, just ridiculous dancing all the time, just to keep myself awake. And he is so funny that one time when I was dancing, I was just recording myself just for fun. He was in the background. He was being like my backup dancer on this like fake rap video. I don't know what it was, but just for fun. So that's the kind of person that he is. He's just so full of life, and I'm just honored to be able to work with him.
No, absolutely. Now, the next question I was going to ask you is, who influenced you? Actually, I don't know if I asked you this one, so let me go back to the acting. Who influenced you to become an actress, and how many years have you been acting overall?
Okay, so I've been acting for, I think, maybe it's been 14, 15 years. So I've been acting a long time. The way that I got into acting was actually very weird, which might be interesting for your listeners to know. I don't know. I actually was part of a cult when I was a teenager. Totally true. And this cult was an offshoot of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, and we were up in the mountains learning, like, survival skills and like doomsday stuff, right? And the only people that I would talk to were telemarketers. Like, I would try to keep them on the phone for as long as I could, because they were the only people that I kind of talked to for the outside world. And so one of the telemarketers was like, you know what, you have a very interesting voice, you should get into voiceovers. And I was like, I don't even know what voiceovers is, you know? But there was a lot of stuff that was happening at the time. The marriage that I was in was becoming violent, and he had quit his job, and there was no way that I knew how to make money. And so on a lark, on a complete fluke, I looked up who the biggest agency was in San Francisco, and I sent a really ridiculous, not even professional recording to them. They ended up calling me in, and they ended up signing me the very same day, sending me on my very first audition that day, and they ended up booking the job that very same day. So I was like, thank goodness that there's something out there that's watching out for me. So that's how I got started in the acting industry, through voiceovers. And once I started booking more voiceover jobs, I was like, oh my gosh, I actually have to get good at this. And so I started taking classes, which my ex-husband at the time allowed me to do, because it was the only way that that the family was making money. So I was allowed to go to these auditions. And so it was kind of like acting was my way of healing and getting out of that relationship, that, and that very crazy messed up situation.
Well, I'm glad you're doing better now, and what I'm picking up, the guy sounds like a real dick.
Yeah, yes, very big. Very, very big. Yeah, to say the least. So.
Now, the next question I was going to ask you is, I saw that you studied improv. Mm-hmm. So what can you tell us about that?
I started taking improv when I moved. So I've only been in Los Angeles for 2 years. I lived in San Francisco. My first 13, 14 years of acting, I only did in San Francisco. And then when I booked it, I just drove down and I did the couple of days here and there. But when I moved down to LA, there is a school here called the Upright Citizens Brigade. And, it was founded by Amy Poehler, and I don't care who the guys are because Amy Poehler is my hero, So I was like, if Amy Poehler founded this place, this is the place that I want to go to. So I started taking classes in improv at the Upright Citizens Brigade, and improv helped me a lot because it's all about saying yes. It's all about, taking what is given to you and adding something to that. So never backing down from a challenge, almost like being okay to accept whatever it is that people give to you and saying, yes, I'm going to take that and I'm going to add my own little spice to it. So that was one of the lessons that improv taught me. The second lesson that I'm trying to learn, that I'm still learning, that I don't know if I actually know yet, is that my ideas have merit. Because I'm so scared all the time that what I think is stupid, and what I think funny is stupid. So in improv, you have to kind of just not care about that and just put it out there and just assume that the people that you're working with, your improv troupe, will support you. So that's a huge lesson. It's like a huge lesson in just thinking that, or putting your ideas out there, no matter if they fall flat on your face, if you fail so hard and you look stupid, it's okay. And also that your improv members, your family, is going to support you and kind of even if it's awkward and weird, they're going to try to help you out. So that was a great lesson from improv. Let's see, what other lessons? Just to be brave and just to put yourself out there and be okay with failing on your face over and over. That's a great lesson of improv that I'm learning. I don't know if I've learned it, but I'm learning it.
No, absolutely. I feel the same way with my talk show. No one wanted to help me with it. It started, as a hobby in high school, help me get through it. And once I got sick, I said, you know what, I go to job. I can't hold down a job. So I said, what am I good at? Well, people tell me I can't shut up, so why not use that? And I said, well, okay, long story short, instead of using my disability as a crutch, I wanted to use it as a strength. So I decided to turn myself into an example, and I've been doing this for 5.5 years.
That's amazing, and being over 500 episodes in, that's huge. So I got to commend you on that, Yeah, it's not, another thing that I've learned, and I don't know if this is improv, but somebody told me, because I have, this really crazy past, not in spite of my past, I've achieved these things, but because of my past, I've achieved these things. So not in spite of your disability, because of your disability, you are accomplishing so much, right? And that you
absolutely.
you're choosing to use it as a platform to inspire other people, which is amazing, and that's great. And I commend you to continue to keep doing it, because yes, you're going to be an inspiration, and you are an inspiration to other people that think that they can't do it, or they have limitations, or whatever, No,
I hope so. Now, the next question I was going to ask you, you mentioned you have your own company. again, it sounds like an oxymoron question. Because I keep repeating it, who influenced you to start your own company, and what was the idea behind it?
The idea behind it was to make money because I was a single mom. You know, But when I started acting, my acting teacher actually took note of the fact that I kind of rose pretty quickly. You know, and I started booking really quickly these big things. And so she, even though we had a falling out later on, she influenced me and said, hey, I think you should teach a class. So I started teaching under her. And I started, learning how to teach under her, and then expanded to like me teaching for other schools. And then, in 2008, when the writer's strike happened, there was just no acting jobs, because everything was pretty much shut down. And I have a kid, and I can't, I have to provide for my kid. So I started, because of survival, to teach on my own and to kind of, hang up the sign on the wall and be like, hi, I'm teaching now for myself so I can make the money to provide for my kid. So that was a big influence. I needed to provide for my kid. And the first year that I started teaching, I had a lot of success. One of my students, Raina Sheffman, I don't know if you know or remember the show, the Ben Stiller movie, Meet the Fockers. Fockers. Okay. So she actually, within months of taking my class, they flew her down to screen test for that. So even from the beginning, I've had really big successes for my students. And I look really young, even though I have a kid. And so anytime I marketed myself to adults don't give me, they're like, who are you and what can you teach me? So, kids and teens became my specialized clients because parents can trust me. Adult actors don't, but parents, they're like, yeah, I trust my kids, if they're 6 or 7 and up, I trust that you can teach them and they'll benefit from it. So that's how my specialty became kids and teens.
No, absolutely. Now, the next question I was going to ask you is, I'm going to ask you some easy ones, but let's keep it going with the hard-hitting ones. Have you ever worked with people besides me, have you ever worked with people with learning disabilities, and would you be willing to work with people with disabilities?
I actually do. One of my students, Austin, was diagnosed with, I think, ADHD or, one of those learning disabilities. I don't see him that way. He is one of the smartest kids that I have ever met. Ever. Technologically just so smart. I feel like his brain is 70 steps ahead of where I normally am, and that's why he has so much energy, and it's just, you have to give children with learning I don't think that they're learning disabilities, I just think they're learning differences. You have to give them the tools, and you can't expect them to fit in a certain, mold. You know what I mean? And he has the biggest heart in, the whole world, So, yeah, I do work with children with learning differences. But I know that on set, because movie and film work so fast, you have to have a director that understands that and understands how to work with children. So translating that into actual working jobs, that's a little bit difficult. But yes, I work with them. How much, the industry has to change, or you have to get a director or a production company that understands how to work differently in order to get children with learning differences hired. But yeah, I do all the time. So.
Some people would say I act like a giant man-child.
Oh, I act like a dork all the time. All the time. I am the biggest of the sillies because, well, this job is just ridiculous. You have to be okay to put yourself out there as, and be okay with looking silly. That's what this job is. Whether it's being vulnerable or being extremely ridiculous. Some of my adult actors, they'll be like, okay, for commercial, I want you to pretend that you are, crowd surfing in a concert, and you have to get on the floor and pretend that you're crowd surfing in an empty room, and it's absolutely ridiculous and silly. This is like the perfect job for people that are kids at heart. And if you notice, children go from one emotion to the other so quickly. And I think that kids have more access to their emotions before they get shut down, before society tells them that this is not okay to feel, or this is not polite, or whatever. So, I think, that's totally fine. Being childlike is a great thing.
No, absolutely. Now we're going to take a quick commercial break, and with the last 12 minutes left, I'm going to pass it to you after I ask you 2 questions.
Espina Sisters. Asian Lalo. This is Cynthia Bastinet. I'm Sonia Fisher. This is Shane Smith.
My name is Alexandra Bowie. My name is Amelia Clover.
Hi, I'm Amy Linden.
Hi, I'm Anita Nicole Brown.
Meg Green.
Hi, my name is Asata Caldwell. Hi, everybody, I'm Brooke.
Hi, I'm Brynford. Hi, I'm Casey Dunn.
Hi, it's Cassandra Kavinsky.
Hi, I'm Christina Briza.
I'm Cindy Hogan.
I'm Courtney Sinello.
Hi, I'm Daisy.
My name is Deborah Jane East.
Hi, my name is Dynel Marcia.
Everyone, I'm Victoria London.
Hi, I'm Heather Crona.
Hi, I'm Heather Callahan Stevens.
Hi, I'm J. Nicole Ralph.
My name is Jamie Petrell. My name is Turi. My name is Julia Brankovich.
Kathleen Wills.
Kimberly Amato.
Hi, my name is Laura Putnam.
Hi, I'm Laura Chapanis.
Hi, everyone, I'm Melissa Damas.
This is Michelle Mupo, a.k.a. Fuchsia. I'm Rachel Olivera.
Hi, my name is Sarah Joy Mount. Hi, I'm Susan Brender.
Hi, everyone, this is Venus Leone.
Hi, I'm Cheryl Dana.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Herrera, and I was just on the Keith Andrew Network. It was tons of fun. We used up all our time and then some. I really recommend this show, and try to be a guest on Keith's show. It was super fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Keith Andrew Network. I am your host, Keith Andrew, and you're watching the one and only Keith Andrew Network. With that being said, with the last 12 minutes left, I'm going to pass it to you. But before I do, 2 questions I want to ask you. Is social media, can social media make you or break you? And going back to the very first question I was going to ask you, but then we started with the whole acting career, is when you went to college, what did you major in? Or were you a study nerd or party animal?
I'm definitely a study nerd because I'm an introvert. Parties make me very anxious. I actually did not finish college because I had a kid at a really young age. So, but I did go to 2 weeks of Harvard, and then I was like, this is way too much, and I can't handle it. And actually, I tried to go to college when my kid started, and I just couldn't handle it. So maybe in the future, when my life slows down a little bit, I'll try to finish up my degree and whatever. I don't even know what that would look like. But I love learning. I love learning so much. So yeah, I'm a study nerd. It's just I do it on my own time. And I also, I like the internet is amazing because I feel like you can learn anything that you want from YouTube and, the different courses. MIT and Stanford have their courses online now. And the Khan Academy has their courses online. So I feel like that's changing the world. The internet's changed the world so much. What's the other question? Social media?
Well, before we get to that, I do have one more I got to throw in. Did you ever get the chance to do one of those human pyramids, or not into the whole human pyramid thing?
I don't even know what a human pyramid is. What's a human pyramid?
Basically, a group of people come together and they form a pyramid.
Oh, like when you do the shoulders on the people's... You know what? I feel like I did that in grade school, but never in college. Yeah.
Would you ever do one again, or is it past tense?
I'm not that physically... I'm really clumsy, so I don't know if I can even help in that scenario. I think I will just injure everyone, so I'm kind of scared. I don't want to hurt anybody.
Hey,
so
don't knock it till you try it, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. I guess it depends on the people and the time and the place and how I'm feeling that day. Yeah. What was the other question? Social media make you or break you?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know. Social media I know is important for actors. There are two different camps on it. So one camp says, it doesn't matter as long as you're fit for that role, then they're going to cast you. But if it came down to two people that are both amazing at the role, and one had a bigger social media following than the other, but in every single way they're the same, then the person with the more social media followers is going to get it. Some of my kids, some of my students, they have big social media followings, and they get called into auditions just because of that. So I've seen that happen, but then I've had other kids that, have nothing, and they get booked anyway. In terms of business-wise, I think that it's good to have as an adult, because then you can kind of you have your own audience, and you're not dependent on like a production company or a show to elevate you, just like what you're doing on your network. Like, you are building your own audience, and so you can take that audience with you with whatever show that you want to be on. So I think that's a good thing as an adult. As a child, I'm a little scared, like a lot of my students are children, and there are a lot of, and also women too, like women get a lot of like creepers and people that are not very polite in their feeds. So I think you have to be careful. Like, yes, it is important, but be safe about it. And whether it'll make you or break you, I don't know. I know it helps, but also, I also believe that if you have a really good work ethic and you are constantly improving your talent and your skills, the cream always rises to the top, So, I don't know if it's a make it or break it thing. I know it helps, but I wouldn't say it makes you or breaks you.
All right, I do have a couple questions for you off the air.
Okay.
But actually, if you want to hear one of them right now, I can tell you.
Yeah, go for it.
Would you be interested, because you mentioned you teach students, and I know you're in Chicago, right?
I'm in Los Angeles now.
Oh, so it's a 3-hour difference. So I'm thinking eventually when I'm there in person, but in the meantime we can meet up. But I was thinking in the meantime, would you be interested having me do a Skype call in, and I can talk to your students and I can tell my story?
I mean, it would be interesting. I don't know if there's a market for that right now in my school, but it's definitely, I can ask around and see if that's something, because your story is very inspirational. It does help people want to create their own thing, no matter what their perceived limitations are, and I think that's amazing. But I'll put it out there and I'll ask.
Yeah, that's an idea, but I do have a couple questions for you off the air. But passing the show over to you. It's the last 6 minutes and counting. Was there anything you wanted to talk about, promote, X? Maybe this is your time.
Oh, wait, this is me promoting myself? I thought I was going to ask you about yours. Okay,
this is your time.
Promotion stuff. HollywoodActorsWorkshop.com is my school website. I teach all over the country, nationwide, one-on-one sessions just like this through Skype. So you can bug me there. My Twitter handle is GeoSpirit, GIOSPIRIT. My Instagram is GeoSpirit2, so GIOSPIRIT, and then the number 2. You can, add me on those two things. But I'm going to ask you something, Keith. What do you want? How do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you want this show to go? What do you want to do?
All right. It's funny you mention that, because people, I've been reaching out to media people. I was like, can you interview me on the radio? I want to tell my story. And it's and they're like, okay, tell me what you do. And as soon as I say, I'm a creator of a talk show, I show people with a learning disability, I can send them out stuff. And I'm going to cut you off there, because we don't have a market for that. We're not really interested in that. We don't think our viewers will find you interesting. It's how about you give me a freaking chance? Because people who say I'm not interested are, whatever the excuse is, as soon as they're done talking to me, say, we like you, we see the passion in you, and it's kind of give me a chance, and I can prove you wrong. It's kind of like what Chris Benoit used to say to people. God rest his soul, even though there's a whole story behind that. But as Chris Benoit says, prove me wrong. And I'm going to show everyone out there, prove me wrong. And I'm going to show you I can still amount to something. So I'm just looking for a chance. So go back to your question. People are like, oh, write a book. I don't feel like I accomplished a lot. Even though I created my talk show, I interviewed almost 500 and something people.
Shoot.
But I want, get on TV. I want to get my own studio. I want to hang out with celebrities. Then I can write the book or be a lock-on in a movie or whatever. Then I can write the book and say, now I feel I'm accomplished. But right now, I feel like, I started something, but it's kind of like someone blowing my candle saying, is this as far as you're going to go? Or, it's the leash scenario that I'm talking about. Here's the handle, and here's the leash. You're going to go and go as far as someone wants you to go. And they're like, okay, now you got to stop. Let's see what you do with the rope we gave you. Make sure you don't hang yourself with it. Or, the glass ceiling. Close the doors. You're going to break on for the other side. So you're only going to go up as far as somebody wants you to. But once you start breaking on for the other side, you're going to start wondering, is he capable of doing this? Does he know what he's getting himself into? So some of the scenarios like glass ceiling, the lace, the candle, the candle's the brand new one. I just came out with that today, thanks to you. But it's like, write a book, and I don't want to bitch and moan in the book saying, well, when I was 6, because I did that already. I made a book. It was called, my brother likes making fun of me for that. It's called When You Overcome Controversy, Dreams Do Come True. And I wrote the book, and even though there was a lot of spelling errors in there, it was like, okay, kindergarten, I did this. Preschool, high school, I did this. People thought I was a stalker. And then I got sick and found working in retail, and I felt like, well, who the hell wants to read that? That's me just bitching and moaning. And so when someone says write a book, I'm like, all right, that sounds great, but what do I have to show for it? So to me, I feel like I have a lot to accomplish first.
Gotcha.
What is your opinion?
Here's my piece of advice, because I kind of gave you the same thing. I was like, you were like, what do you think about this? And I was like, well, marketing is really important. So you have to understand what your audience wants and curtail your package, your EPK, your electronic press kit to that specific thing. Because if you're just like, okay, this is my idea, and it doesn't have a hook that they can grab onto, they're going to do exactly what you said. It's like, oh, okay, thank you, I think you're inspirational, but we don't have a market for this. So you have to find out what that need is on their end and curtail your marketing material to that need. You've accomplished so much by doing over 500 interviews. That's so much. That is ridiculous. My brain is like, boom. I don't know if I can talk to that many people, and interview them. This is crazy. So, that is already a huge accomplishment. What are the lessons that you learned from that? Maybe doing, if you want to not do a book about bitching and moaning, maybe doing a book about, the lessons that you learned from interviewing all these people. What are the commonalities that you found about these people that have accomplished X, Y, Z, or whatever it is? Try to find a different angle that is more palatable to the general market. You know what I mean? Or possibly really zone in on your market and get it very, very niche, where it's specifically targeting audiences that have perceived disabilities, Also, you can also, you have a computer, get one of those, what is it? I just bought a set from Amazon for $60. It's it's like a little green screen background, so that you can put yourself in different fun scenarios, and that might also give it a different tweak. Because you do have really great interviewing skills and you are very engaging. So just make these little tweaks and start tweaking your package of what you send out to these press people. because, oh, I'm getting notifications already. Because if you do not curtail it to what is necessary in, the powers that be, you will get shut down right away. Just like the same for actors with their headshots. If their headshots are subpar, they don't even get into the casting rooms, because casting directors don't want to take somebody on that has, subpar headshots, because, oh my gosh, people are texting me now. Okay. Because, it's they just have a specific standard of what they will take. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. And if you're willing to help me with it, I really appreciate your support. I'm doing the best I can. It's easy for people to say, do this, do that. But I've been doing this myself for 5.5 years, pulling ideas out of my butt. But it would be nice to actually sit down and say, you know what, I'm going to help you with this. I see how passionate you are. You don't have to pay me. I will help you. But no one wants to help me with this, so I'm doing the best I can.
Well, I'll say one thing. Like, if you make a press kit, I'll take a look at it.
I have no idea how to even do that.
Look it up. Internet, you can learn everything and anything. Google. But once you get a press kit together, I'll take a look at it and give you some adjustments.
Yeah, hey, you help me, I help you.
Yeah, does that sound good?
Absolutely. I do have a couple questions for you off the air. And wrapping up our interview segment, how can people, and you hinted towards this in the beginning, but this is how we wrap up the show. First question is, how can people follow you on social media? Are you on, as you mentioned, you're on Twitter and Instagram, but are you on LinkedIn, Facebook, Stage 32?
I'm on LinkedIn. My profile on LinkedIn is not that great. I need to update it. Facebook I am, but it is a private, setting for that. But I do have a business, Hollywood Actors Workshop Facebook, that people can find me on. Also, my website, HollywoodActorsWorkshop.com, is my business website, so they can contact me through there if they want to. And otherwise, Instagram, GeoSpirit 2, and then Twitter, GeoSpirit.
No, absolutely. My last question for you is, when I first approached you to be a guest on my talk show, what was your first reaction? And after being a guest on the show, how do you feel now, and would you recommend it?
My first reaction was, do I even have the time? That was mine. And after being on, why not? I think that you're doing a good thing by interviewing people and gathering all of this information and knowledge. So it's good.
No, absolutely. Now stay tuned for Off the Air. I do have a couple questions, but wrapping up our interview segment, it was a real honor and privilege, and I'm looking forward to part 2 down the road.
Thank you so much. It was an honor and privilege as well.